Welcome in. Thanks so much for joining me today. So I'd like to guide a practice I'm calling It's All Welcome today. And this is really another approach to work with self-compassion, to work with our emotional reactions when they're arising, and to also work with the body, to allow our meditation to become a bit more embodied, to work with the feeling world of sensations, emotions, and energies that are moving throughout the body. And so go ahead and find a seat that's going to work for you for meditation. The main thing is to allow the spine or back to be upright and to also feel relaxed. So we want that uprightness so we don't fall asleep, but also we don't want to be tight. So, somewhere and some way of working with your posture that feels good to you in that way. Relaxed yet upright. And we'll just start by feeling the feet as the feet. And what this means is, wiggling the toes a little bit, connecting with the ground below you, allowing a sense of awareness or present moment mindfulness to connect with the earth, with the floor. To just notice that, this can be a neutral space in the body, a neutral space that doesn't have too much emotional reaction in it usually, but it also can be a resource because it's a place where we can feel grounded, as literally we're on the ground and we're connecting with it. So just allowing that to unfold for you in its own way. Allowing a sense of connection with the earth, with the ground, with the floor below you, and also a sense of the feet themselves, the space within the feet, the space in between the feet, and just starting to sense that more and more with mindful awareness. And the same as we begin to move up the body, just doing a brief body scan, moving up through the legs into the knees, into the upper legs, into our seat. Applying the theme of this practice, just welcoming the body, welcoming different kinds of sensations, whether they're pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. See if you can welcome them to the experience, which just means a sense of acceptance. They're there, right? And as we move from the seat into our hips and into our lower abdomen, probably we're going to start to feel some emotional qualities, if those are arising for us right now, maybe some subtler emotional energies as we move into the abdomen, up through the spine, into the mid-body, into our heart center, which I usually call the freeway interchange of emotion. It's many, many roads, highways of emotions, of energy moving through there. It's often where we feel the most reactive. So welcoming that. In a sense, welcoming and allowing here is a type of kindness. It's a type of kindness towards what's arising within our bodies, what's arising within our minds. Just allowing the scan to move forward, moving up through the shoulders, down the arms, into the hands and fingertips. Back up through our throat, neck, into our jaw, muscles of the face, into front, back, sides of the head, all the way into the middle of the head. And from the middle of the head, just allowing a dripping down of embodied awareness to now pervade the entire body. You can go back through each point of the body, but carry the one that came before it. So you're moving from the head into the throat and neck, bring the head with you. And we start to develop this sense of pervasive embodied awareness, pervading the entire body. And we're also practicing this attitude of it's all welcome. Whether something is active and alive, or we're feeling content, or we're feeling sleepy. Basically, if you're feeling good, bad, or in between, it's all welcome. But there's a sense of compassion here. Compassion for what's arising on the feeling level, but also thoughts are welcome, but we're not following after them. So welcome doesn't mean we have to become them either. Instead, we're just allowing a sense of awareness to develop where the mind can bear witness or become watchful of thoughts, sensations, also anything arising within our sense perceptions, any sounds around us, smells, tastes. It's all welcome, but also allow it to arise and fall. There's no need to grab on or become anything. See if you can work with that a little bit. Again, not as an ideal, but as a process, as a practice, coming back to this sense of just being with experience, feeling it, not suppressing it, but also not becoming. Just allowing it to move, allowing it to be its nature, which is impermanent and changing all the time. And if something strong arises that's overwhelming, just come back to the feet, come back to somewhere neutral in the body where you can be and you can find some sense of space. But when we welcome everything, that in itself is the space, because there's no more fighting. There's no more wishing it to be different. There's no more need to control, manipulate, change what's arising artificially. Just allowing it to move in its own time. So see if you can apply this approach to just one part of your experience, be it a thought, be it a sensation in the body, be it just being open to sensations in the body. And so at the end of the day, this practice is really pointing to just being. And we come back to that being when we become distracted, or we start to get involved or get hijacked by a certain reaction. We just recognize that and come back to being. I recommend using the feet as that anchor you come back to. So maybe you get distracted into a thinking process or a certain reaction from an emotion. We're not pushing away the emotion. We're not pushing away the thought. We're just dropping temporarily into the feet to remember to be with the experience. Because when we block or suppress the experience, we're not welcoming it. We're not being it. And when we become it, we're also not being it. Being with it. When we become it, we're also not being with it. We're trying to do something with it. So being doesn't mean becoming. This is kind of a subtle distinction that we make over time with this kind of practice. And from time to time, you can just remember this phrase, it's all welcome. And remembering it with a sense of kindness, like you're open to a guest, even if that guest is a little belligerent, right? Because sometimes the way our emotional reactions arise can be a little belligerent, sometimes painful, sometimes aggressive. So we can remember here when we're welcoming them, it doesn't mean we're welcoming them to hijack us. For that, we need awareness. just this sense of watchfulness, or as I said, bearing witness. We welcome and bear witness. We do that again and again. Just before we close the practice, just recognizing that this is something you can continue on your own, or if you want to replay this guided practice, and that we don't have to conclude it. It's okay, whatever you experience. There doesn't have to be a conclusion to every practice we do. There doesn't have to be some goal we meet. The goal in itself is to become more familiar with letting be, with welcoming in this way. Not just through our thoughts, but welcoming through the body, welcoming through awareness. I recommend just really focusing on that process, being patient with that process, and putting your effort into it. It will have an effect over time. It will grow. It will bear fruit. But we don't have to focus on what that fruit is going to be for you. Just engage with the process, as long as the practice is clear to you. Just before we close, just connecting to a warm presence in the heart, sense of care that may have been reimagined through this practice, a sense of care that may have reawakened through this practice, and just dedicating our energy that this can be pervasive throughout our life, this sense of welcoming ourselves, others, all experience, but without feeding our destructive reactions. Instead, it allows us to grow compassion, wisdom, and love from a very natural and organic place. Okay. Thanks so much for joining me for this practice. If you enjoyed this, I would appreciate some comments. If you're watching on YouTube or any social media platform, if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or any other podcast platform, give me a shout. Drop me a line at scotttusa.com. There's also a lot more guided meditations on my website, as well as here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find more guided meditations. And as always, I appreciate the feedback, as well as, let me know what's working and or not working for you. That helps me to gauge what to offer here. Okay, thanks so much.